Hi everyone, Leanne here from Jaded Blossom, and I have a Copic coloring video for you. Hey, so I'm going to be coloring this new Mermaid to be Friends stamp. I'd used the outline dies to cut her out, stamped her in Ink on 3's blackout ink. These are all the Copic markers that I used for this project. They are listed underneath the video. So I'm starting out with E50. I stamped this image onto Nina Solar White 80-pound cardstock. Like I said, in Ink on 3's blackout ink, let it dry really well. And now I'm starting with E50 for the skin tones. So I'm just starting with the skin, and I'm just, getting kind of an all-over wash with it. I am not a professional at this. I am, I can get by. That's about it. So people have asked me in the past to do a Copic coloring video. I'm not very good at coloring, I don't think. I do my best, but it's not something that I love to do, and certainly not something that I normally record. So this is a little bonus video for the May release. I thought I would do that. So now I'm adding in a shadow with some E51. And next I'm going to use, looking for it. That is E11. And I'm kind of putting the darkest skin tone in the, there we go, in the crevices there. So underneath her hair, Next I'm using E21, kind of blending it out. And then I'm going to come back to the lightest color, so E51, and then I'll go to E50. So I'm kind of going like underneath her hair, where her shadows would be darkest, at least according to me. Because like I said before, I'm not a professional at this. Now I'm filling in with the E50 again, kind of, going over the lighter parts. And then we have her skin tone, mostly complete. I'm just going to kind of, try to even things out a little bit. And there she is. Okay, so next I'm using an R20, and I'm just going to use that on her cheeks. And then I'm going to use the E50, that's the lightest skin tone, just to blend it out a little bit. There we go. And now we have her cheeks done. And I'm just bringing in that E50 again. There we go. Now I'm going to do her lips. Her lips I used R12, R14, and R17. So I start with the 12, and then I use the 17 kind of on the edges. I use the 14 again. And then I'm going to use that R12 just as a highlight. I'm going to tap the center of her lips in that. And I'm just going to use an E50 because I went out of the line a little bit, and I'm going to blend that a bit. And now she's got some lips. There we go. And blending out with that E50 again. And there we have it. Okay, so next we're going to do her eyes. I used BG 10, 23, and 13. So I do the lightest first. So I'm just going to color her eyes in the lightest. And then I'm going to kind of go darker on the edge. So that's going to be the BG 13. Then I'll bring in the BG 23. And then I'll use that lightest one again, I believe, just to kind of blend it a little bit. There we go. And now we have her eyes done. Okay, so next we're going to be doing the tip of her tail and along the waist. So I'm using YG00 first. So I'm just going to color that all in YG00. There we go. And like I said, I'm not a professional at this. This is trial and error stuff. Next I'm pulling in YG03, and I'm going to bring that in on the tips, close to the tail and close to the end tail and close to the tips, the fin part, I guess you want to call it. There we go. And then I'm using YG01 to kind of blend things out a little bit. And I will bring the YG00 again in the center, just to, adds a little bit of movement. I'm going to use the YG03 again, kind of, at the tips of the fins and closer to the tail. Then I'm going to bring in that YG03 from the edges of that waistband. And, you know, the other colors again, the YG00, YG01. There we go. So now she's got her waist and her fin done. Next, I'm going to color the main part of the tail with YG21. So I'm just running that over the whole thing. Next, I'm pulling in YG03, and I'm going to bring that in from the, you know, the edges. And like I said, you know, I keep saying this, I'm not a professional at this. There are a lot of people out there that are really good at coloring with Copics. I kind of get by. That's what I call it. I'm pulling in the YG17 now from the edges, you know, and kind of underneath the waistband just to give some highlight. It's always easier to go lightest to darkest. I know some people even go darkest to lightest, but then you've got nowhere to go at that point, right? You can't make it lighter after. So it depends on what I'm doing, you know, whether I go darkest to lightest or lightest to darkest. But usually I follow the rule of lightest to darkest. Okay, so next I'm bringing in the YG67. That's my darkest green. I'm just pulling that in from the edges. There we go. So I'm coloring this one kind of to make it look like our favorite Disney mermaid, right? So next we are going to blend it out. I'm using the YG17 to bring out from the edges again. Then I'll grab my YG03, kind of flicking back and forth. And then lastly, I'll use that YG21 in the center just to keep that highlight. Just sort of blending it as well as I can. There we go. And then I'm going to take the YG03 and, you know, add a few dots. I find that makes it, you know, much more forgiving. I'm going to do the same thing with my YG17. Just add a few dots, sort of like scales. But like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. Now I'm pulling out my black glaze pen from Secure, and I'm going to color in the pupils with that. You got to be careful with this. You got to let it dry. Okay, next I'm going to color the shells. So her shell bikini top in V12, V15, and V17. So I start with V12, and then I'm going to flick up from the bottom, the darkest color. So YG17, or I mean V17, and then V15, and then I'll grab that lightest color again, the V12, and add that to the top. There we go. And there's her little top. And I forgot, she's got one in her hair too, so I'm going to color this exactly the same. So V12, then I'll add V17 as the darkest, and I'll flick that in from the bottom. And then I'll bring in the V15 again. There we go. And then I will color the top with the V12, just for fun. And there's her little shell in her hair. Next, I'm going to color the flower in her hair. At least that's what I'm going for. It's kind of looking like a flower. So I'm using RV000 for the lightest. And then I'm using RV52 and RV55. So I'm going to flick in from the bottom of the flower. I also left a couple of those, I don't know if they were petals or leaves, but I left a couple of them as leaves, and I'll be coloring those green, you know, to repeat the green again, just for fun in her hair. So I start with the RV000, and then I ink blend from the bottom to the top. I kind of want it to go darker on the bottom and then lighter to the top. So that's what I did. I kind of flicked color up from the bottom. There we go. Now I'm going to use my greens. I'm using YG03 as the lightest. So I'm just filling those in, and then I'm going to pull out my YG17 and YG67, just flicking in from the bottom of those little leaves, you know, just to add some depth, I guess. And I will repeat the YG03 again, you know, kind of trying to blend those out. And now there is her pretty hair color. Okay, so next we are going to color her hair. And this is tricky, but I'm using YR04, YR07, E09, and E18 in that order. So I'm going to start out first with my YR04, and I'm just going to flick in color from all the edges. And like I said, I'm not a professional at this. There are plenty of people out there that actually have hair coloring videos that you can watch, and they can be really good. But, you know, this is like a cartoon image. We got to be forgiving with ourselves. This will look cute. Even if you colored her hair in solid, it would look sweet on a card, right? Okay, so next I grab my darkest color. So I flicked in all the lightest color first. Now I'm going to grab the darkest color, and I'm going to flick in some dark color. I'm trying, you know, I want you to be able to sort of see strands and highlights in her hair. So that's why I went with the lightest, and then I went to the darkest, just flicking in the color. And then I'm going to go back and forth and bring in the other colors. But that's how I do it. I just find it's easier that way, and then I don't get the hair too dark, because you want some highlights, right? But like I said, this is not really my jam. I'm not the best at this. But, you know, I guess they say practice, practice, practice. Although, to be honest, I really don't enjoy coloring. So I really don't get tons of practice. Whenever Jaded Blossom has an image, I'm like, oh boy, I've got to pull out my markers again, you know. I do like it when it's finished, you know, sort of like gardening. I really don't like gardening, but I really like a pretty planted garden once it's finished. You know, nice, you know, shrubbery and, you know, perennials. Beautiful. I just don't like planting them and dealing with them. Okay, so now I'm flicking in this darkest color, like I said, and then I will pull in the next one. This is the E09. So I'm trying to make her look like our favorite redhead, Little Mermaid, right? And I'm just going to flick in some of the more auburn color, I guess you want to call it. And I'll be flicking it in from, you know, from the tips right up close to her face as well, right? And I'm leaving the center of the hair kind of lighter. Hopefully where you'd get some highlights, I don't know. And I'm just going to add in some more. And then I'm going to pull in my couple of oranges that I'm going to use in a moment here. And, you know, hopefully this will remind you of that Little Mermaid. I'm loving this new stamp set, actually, from Jaded Blossom. It has some adorable sentiments on it, and this super sweet image would look great with that new shell die set that we have. That would be adorable as well. Now I'm flicking in, this is my YR07. That's my darker orange. I'm going to flick in that now. Now I'm trying to make this a little bit more solid, but you can still see the hair strands, I hope. So I'm just sort of filling in as well as I can. And like I said before, I'm not a professional at this. I do my best. What can I say? So there we are. So I'm just flicking in that hair color some more. And then hopefully we will have something that looks a little bit more like what you want it to look like. Next, I'm pulling in my lightest color of orange. That's that YR04 again. And I'm just going to flick this all in and kind of fill in my areas and hopefully make it look like we've got a nice redhead here swimming in the ocean. And I'm just sort of filling this all in, and then hopefully, like I said, we'll have a little redhead in the ocean. So I just think she's a really sweet looking Little Mermaid anyway. And then maybe I'll stop getting the comments, you should color in your videos. I'm like, here's your coloring video. I don't know if it's that great, but here it is. So there we go. So I am going to fill this in. And I just think she is a sweet little image. What little girl wouldn't want this on her card? Or what big girl, right? Now I'm using E09 and I'm flicking in a little bit more, just trying to get some more, you know, make it look like they're strands. Remember, you don't want to add too much dark too many dark flicks, because it will take away from your, your highlights and everything. But, that's what I'm trying to do, trying to make this look better. And I'm filling in some more of those little hairs is what I'm going for. And she is swimming in the water, so her hair would be a tangled wreck, right? That's what would happen. Next, right now, I am using a Sakura glitter pen. And I'm going to add a few little glitters on here, some on her back fin, along her little scales on her tail. Just highlight them a bit. I love the glitter pen from Sakura. It's just so pretty. It's got like a silvery glitter. I'm going to add a few little stripes to her shell. I'll do the same with the one in her hair. But I'm going to add some of that to the flower as well. Just to add a few little highlights. Makes it pretty, right? I'm going to add a little bit just to each eye, just along the edge of the colored part of the eye. And there we go. And isn't she pretty? I just think she's pretty. Next, I'm pulling out my Jelly Roll pen in a number 10, and I'm going to add a few little highlights here and there for fun. There it is. I'm going to add one on her lip, add a few on her cheeks, like little freckles, because why not? And I will add a few in her little flower and the leaves in her hair, and on her little bikini top, and then on her tail as well. There we go. There, just for some highlights, right? There she is. And then I will add some highlights actually to her eyes. So I'm just going to add 2 little highlights around her pupils, and then there you go. So thank you so much for stopping by. Be sure to hop on over to the Jaded Blossom blog, be inspired by the team, the Jaded Blossom store, to get your hands on these amazing products. And thanks for watching. Bye, everybody.